What does Shanks know? He is a character that has been around in One Piece for a long time, technically since the beginning. He is a character that has popped up repeatedly in the middle of world events, and it is a character that seems to be slowly moving towards the end goal of the series. I mean, he has always been around, but now he seems to be directly partaking in the end of this series. So the real question is, what does he know, and what do we need to know about him? Well, one of the first things to understand is we actually know almost nothing about Shanks' backstory. And I mean nothing. Even with some of the extra add-ins from the movies, there is next to no information about Shanks before he joined his original pirate crew. And that is a good starting place as any, because Shanks' first crew was Gold Roger's crew. He was a cabin boy alongside Buggy on board the famous pirate ship and saw a lot of their adventures firsthand. It is also funny to note that this is probably where Shanks seemed to have picked up his ideology, or at least preference, for having his crew not have devil fruit powers. Gold Roger's crew didn't have devil fruit powers either, with the exception of Buggy, who found one and then accidentally ate it. So there seems to be some carrying undercurrent of that Shanks, whether idolizing Roger for that or just saw more benefits in not having his crew be disabled by the sea, seems to only have recruited members of his crew who don't have devil fruit powers, or never let them have devil fruit powers. It's not been abundantly made clear. We also know that at some point within this timeline, whether due to a conflict with the Whitebeard pirates or not, Blackbeard got into a scuffle with Shanks somewhere between being a kid and then being, when we see him with Luffy, and gave him the 3 scars across his eye. We don't know what the particulars of that fight was, or even why it happened, but we know that that was one of the key kickoffs for that. We also know that at some point within that same gap of a time period, Shanks met and formed a rivalry / friendship with, Dracul, Hawkeye, Mihawk, because they know each other, and enough that Hawkeye won't fight him at Marineford. So there's some kind of history there. Again, it's never been fully elaborated. Now, the only things that we do know for sure really start from when Luffy met him as a kid and when they were in the town, and in particular when he stole the Gum fruit. Now, we know he's the one that stole that. We know that was a objective for them. We know that the entire crew was a little surprised when Luffy ate it, because he wasn't supposed to be the one to get it. Who it was is a bit of a debate. Some people think it might have been for the crew themselves, which doesn't seem likely, but could have been. It's also possible that it could have been for Ace. Some people for some reason thought that he was going to give that fruit to Ace, which is not impossible, but doesn't seem, again, very likely, because we don't know how much Shanks knew about Ace. Or even if they had a good enough relationship that if he offered him a devil fruit, he would accept it. And then, you lead into the last aspect, which is there seems to be an undercurrent that Shanks was distinctively well aware that the Gum fruit is not the Gum fruit. That it was, in fact, the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. Now, what he knew in particular about that or not has not been made clear. Again, so much of post him leaving Luffy is now only occasional updates rather than full-on information dumps. But he seems to have been aware of that, and seems to have, in a no small way, set this entire journey on course. Tying in with that is the fact that he has only decided to go to Laugh Tale as soon as Luffy awakened his devil fruit. Now, that could have also maybe had something to do with the defeat of Big Mom and Kaido, because we know that he seems to have been a bit of the man in the middle in terms of keeping Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom all away from each other, as well as trying to help as many people as he seems to be able in the Grand Line. And so because of that, he seemed to be kind of like Whitebeard, acting more as a balance than an outright force on their own. And I think that there is something to that, because when he sees them defeated and then Luffy has awakened this, I think he senses that something is shifting, and that's where we get our first idea that he's going to Laugh Tale. Whether this is him carrying on Roger's legacy and will, or an idea that he had, is not made abundantly clear. I keep saying that a lot, but it is so true. And because of that, we're just going to have to assume for the time being that his intentions are good. He's never done anything to directly harm anyone that we care about in the series. That having been said, I should point out that there's a prominent fan theory that Shanks is actually a celestial dragon. Is this true or not? We don't currently have enough information, but there are some hints that he seems to at least have a closer than normal relationship with the world government. The two biggest are A, he was able to show up at Marineford and stop the war, looking right at Sengoku and telling him it was over. It kind of feels strange that any pirate would be able to do that, so, you know, let's be fair and say that there probably was something very hinky with that. The even more alarming factor was that he was given an audience with the 5 elders. Now, keep in mind, those are the celestial dragons that sit at the top of their world and only are just below Emu, so it kind of makes sense that some people theorize he is a celestial dragon. Whether he is, whether he's actually working with them or not, we still don't know, but it is worth bringing up as a consideration in all this. If you're interested in more One Piece content, go ahead and check out my video on 5 terrifying devil fruits that you absolutely wouldn't want to run into in the One Piece universe.